Welcome to Impact and Influence, the podcast for real estate business owners and professionals who are ready to make a bigger impact, scale, have greater sustainability, and increase their influence. This series opens the door to the sharpest minds across the industry, including agency owners, advisors, and trusted partners who share real-world insights and lessons learnt. These are short, practical conversations designed to save you time, sharpen your strategy, and help you build a business by design, not by default. If you're responsible for growth, profit, client experience, leadership, recruitment, or retention, this podcast is your go-to for smarter choices and more decisive leadership. It's proudly presented by Regrowth. We are a coaching and consulting business for the real estate arena. We help you build on capability, connection, and curiosity.
Welcome to Impact and Influence with Regrowth Consultancy. Today we are joined by Luke Holden, Sales Director at Ouwens Casserly, better known as OC, down in Adelaide. Beautiful part of the world. Luke, welcome.
Thanks, Lauren. Great to be with you and connecting. Thank you.
Now, I know OC really well because I've been working with you guys for a number of years now. But for those that are stuck on the East Coast and don't get to Adelaide often, can you give us a brief overview? Because last time I did the introduction, I got the numbers completely wrong. So 7 offices, 150 team members, 80 sales staff. Am I right?
You're closer. You're closer than your
okay.
Yeah. So staff-wise, we're about 165. That's gone up just this calendar year so far about 15%, if I remember correctly. So that's grown significantly just this calendar year. So we've got a lot of onboarding happening at the moment.
Yes.
We use a principle or adopt a principle called hubs and spoke. From an office perspective, we have what we call 3 hubs. And so those are greater infrastructure, more people, less community office orientated. So, for example, we've got head office. This is just outside the city in Adelaide. We've got an amazing office down on the beach in Henley Beach, one down in the Southern Corridor. It's got its own little gym and pool table and all this kind of stuff as well, which is pretty cool and funky. And then the spokes, if you like, are the community offices. So they're spread in geographical locations where we feel a community office is best suited. So, for example, Wollonga, which is just out the side of McLaren Vale, beautiful part of Adelaide, just heading down south, really tight community. We have an office there. We have one down in Galway. We're just about to fit out and open another one in Victor Harbour as well, which is down on the south coast alongside Galway as well. And those 2 have just happened in the last 6 months as well for us. And then we have Kensington as well. So, and just sorry, we just had another one through an acquisition in Mitcham. So, it's about 7 or 8 offices, 3 main hubs, as I said, that facilitates a greater infrastructure and more people. We transact from a residential space. We'll do about 1,400 to 1,500 sales this year. Yeah, so, and from a sales team point of view, including some of the team managers or client services managers, as we call them, we're in the vicinity of around 70 people, a decent size.
A decent size, especially for you in your role. Now, I want to talk to that, but before we do, can you give us a bit of your backstory?
Yeah, so my background actually is not real estate. So I came into real estate later. My background is actually IT. So left school as soon as I could. Had to get out. So 16, went straight into work, which was probably one of the best decisions I ever made because I was able to gather a lot of commercial experience and work alongside some amazing mentors in my life at a very young age. And this was back in the UK. Working in the space of media, more specifically what we call out-of-home advertising, which are like all the billboards, the buses, the bus shelters, all that kind of stuff is that space. So you're working with agencies, getting to understand how advertising works and how you connect and market a product as well. So I did that for a number of years, moved to Sydney. We established a business in Sydney, obtaining some amazing contracts. And the deal was if I moved to Sydney to start that, I would get some equity. So we set up a business in Sydney. And I did that up until about 2007. I pretty much burnt myself out, if I'm honest with you. IT is very demanding. But my role specifically was more going into organisations, understanding how they work, tailoring the product, delivering the product, implementing the product, and the people within the organisation, the users, if you like, were my clients. So it involved sales and it involved learning how to implement products or procedures or workflows into organisations, which I've been able to now in my space now readily translate. So I found it really useful. But when we moved to Adelaide, my wife is from Adelaide. We moved back because we wanted a better family life. We were thinking about starting a family. We engaged a buyer's agent and we were really frustrated. And when we eventually found our property, which we did ourselves, we drove past the property. My wife picked it out. And about 6 hours later, we bought it off market. And it was actually a real estate agent's property. And then this guy and I just got talking, and my wife was like, "You'd be really good at real estate. Why don't you do it?" And I was like, "Why not? I'm over IT." And then it was all from there. So I moved into real estate. Yeah, I think I was in 2007, 2008, worked with some great people here in Adelaide. And then I had the opportunity to relocate back to Sydney, where I worked with some amazing people in Sydney over 2 or 3 years. I learned a lot during that period. I thought I knew a lot, but I learned a lot more. And then, we decided we needed to move back again. We just felt like our life had changed now with a child, and we thought life would be better in Adelaide. And then we relocated back because I've done the swap twice. And then I knew that I couldn't work for anybody, if I'm honest with you. I knew that I had a burning ambition within me to be, responsible somewhat for my own destiny. And I also had an ambition within me to help others in the organisation, within real estate. So I moved back and I started my own business. And I remember opening the doors, and about a week or two later, because Nathan and Alex, the OC, we knew each other through our times of me being in Adelaide and competing against each other. And I'll never forget these things. I always remember getting an email from the guy saying, "So great to have you back in Adelaide. We've opened up ourselves. We're probably a year ahead of you if you need any advice or anything like that."
How amazing is that?
Yeah, really
you
nice
don't hear that
point.
often, do you, in our industry?
Yeah, really nice touch point. And it stood out for me so that when it came time for me to make a decision where I wanted to go after my franchise agreement ended, they were one of my first calls. And we've been in partnership ever since. I think we're coming into our eighth year together. So, it's great.
It's awesome. And what you guys have built in that business is incredible. And there's so many things that I've just from that introduction that I want to talk to you about. I think the first one is just touching on that IT space, because you definitely bring to real estate sales a very analytical, data-driven approach, which I think is pretty unique. And you're doing some awesome things in that space. So talk to me about that.
I can join the dots and I can see trends, I guess, is one thing. And I feel like from the experience that I've had outside of real estate, I can actually readily translate a solution to a real estate agent, embracing systems of workflows and procedures, but delivering it in a way that's more palatable as well, and not too mechanical, if that makes sense. Like, don't get me wrong, we work in an industry where people buy people and you can never change that. And so we need to retain that with anybody we work with. But we can definitely support agents, and we can help agents grow by giving them the right support and infrastructure behind that as well. So, I think if you ask most people in OC to describe me, vast majority would say I'm a numbers guy. Yeah. But the numbers are a trail of truth. Like, you can see trends and you can see where there's potential impact moving forward. So, I think it's been useful and beneficial. And like Nathan and Alex have grown an amazing business, and I'm just so privileged to be on the journey with them. And I'll come into it obviously later, but to be part of the amazing business that they've grown and the culture and everything else, I bring, I guess, a slightly different skill set to the two of them as well. And I think that's why the three of us just work really, really well. Yeah. Yin and yang, but if you can put a third one in there, great. So,
but it is, you guys have very structured, what I would refer to as swim lanes, and you're very clear on what your roles are as directors. And I know that, the communication is nonstop and the paths cross, but it's really clear, especially from a consultant walking into the business, who does what. Yeah. How does that come about? Because that's not an easy space for three, call it salespeople.
Yeah, we definitely.
That doesn't happen.
We're all sales
quickly.
background, absolutely. Yeah. And there's two other people that I want to mention as well, and that's the role of John Thompson, the CEO, and also Belinda Butterworth as well, COO and now also head of PM. I think the five of us really collaborate really well together, and we respect and trust each other. So the reason why it works well is because we trust that we've got it. It's like, each of us will not mess it up. I was going to say something else because we say it in a different way, but each of us will not mess it up, and that we've got our lane, if you like. And that's kind of like also seen within the business. So if somebody connects with me and says, "Can I do this?" and it's more of a space for Belle, I say, "Well, actually, this is Belle's lane. I'm going to loop her in because she's best positioned to make those calls." So it's been a transition for us, and that kind of structure started to come into play when John came into the business, and that was just pre-COVID. He's done an amazing job putting that structure in place. And the five of us just work really, really closely. So the guys are really good on the connection piece for me in sales, because obviously there are a number of agents who opened the business with Nathan and Alex, the first employees are still with us. Yeah. And so the connection piece with them is vital. So, we just have like shared chats, shared messages, voice memos are really big with us. I might just say, hey, Nathan, hey, Alex, can you check in with XYZ? They're having a really good month, or they've just had a PB. Make sure you pat them on the back.
Yeah.
Those little things go a long way in terms of the greater culture of the organisation. But I think fundamentally, yeah, it's credit to John, credit to him and the structure that he's put in place, but also the fact that we just trust that each of us will do what we need to do.
Yeah.
And there's been no failure to suggest otherwise. So yeah.
I love that. Let's talk about, we're going to scale back a little bit and talk about the growth of the sales team, which, as you mentioned, I think you said 15% just in the first part of this year.
Well, that's the whole business. That includes PM as well. But yeah, I think in sales at the moment, my team are on board in 12 agents at the moment, which is from January. Because I'm
pretty exciting.
1 week, it's 12 agents, yeah.
Are you able to share how that recruitment of new agents comes about?
Yeah.
We've talked to culture, and it's definitely, I look at it as you're very much an attraction business, but I know that there's more to it than that.
I think we're different. We have some very strong competitors in our marketplace, but I would like to think that we're not considered as a volume agency. So it's not all about the turnover for us in both people and transactions, if that makes sense.
Yep.
I think we're kind of uniquely positioned from that point of view. And I think we've built up enough credibility over the years and enough success stories, to be honest with you. And so just as if you were going into a lounge room to try and list a vendor, having a case study and being able to translate that to show them how that's worked for somebody else can work really well. So that works really well in the recruitment space. How do we take, if we're talking to an agent that's currently doing 300, okay, who have we brought into the business that we've taken from 300 to 1 million? And what was that journey like? So we actually do that. So the current onboarding has happened from a variety of different avenues, and that's been either through acquisition. So we did do an acquisition, and then some agents involved in that. There's been some agents that contacted us. You know, they tried to go somewhere else and it wasn't quite for them, and then they reconnected with us. And there's some other agents as well that obviously, if you like, we've prospected. Yeah. So I think we're not big on like cold calling agents. We don't do that. But if somebody that we know, a client or something, says we've had a great experience with this person, we're going to listen to that. And so what we look at is the individuals that we're looking at, are they culturally aligned? Do we feel they fit in? Geographically, do they fit into the strategic vision of where we want to be and where we want to operate? And is there a connection there? So it starts off just like a prospecting basis. You build up that rapport slowly. Typically, that will get to the point where it's always good for like Nathan and Alex to have that connection as well. They've got a stronger name than Holden. You know, Holden's a good name, right? But from a real estate point of view, the Ouwens and the Casserly, you know, sometimes if somebody has connected, if the guys are connected to somebody, you take note. So then at some stage, when it gets down to the more operational side or the mechanics and how we help with the onboarding and what kind of support they're going to get, that's where I come in as well. So it's almost like a tag team effect. Work really, really well. And we like to offer people a variety of options. I think when agents are looking to transition from one brand to the next, there is a number of things like slowing down their business, their momentum. That's one. What happens if they haven't got a database that they can bring? What can we provide for them? Is there any conflict with their BDA that they work in, and what can we do to supplement them there? How can we actually promote them joining the organisation and get the message out there and get it clearly and quickly? And so we have kind of strategies in place around that. And even when they join, we don't give them one offer. We give them multiple, because everybody has different reasons. Some people might be under financial pressure at home. They're scared. They're less risk adverse. I love like the psychology thing. So like, you know, the DISC profile where you've got direct people that just want short, sharp, quick information and make a decision quickly. I'm very much in that space. Then you've got the compliant people. It's got to be step by step. You've got the highly influential people that are more personable, how it feels and everything else. And then you've got the slow and steady kind of people. You know, that's the insurance brokers, the accountants, they're less risk adverse, right? So just like a vendor, you've got to have, you might walk in and say, we do a fixed commission, a tier commission and performance base. I think you need to provide that to individuals as well when you want them to come into an organisation. So we offer a variety of different sign-on options or remuneration packages that they can start with and transition through. And we found that to be highly successful. So
yeah, that's awesome.
We're not out there trying to recruit everybody. We want to recruit quality people that are going to complement what we've built.
Yes, I couldn't agree more on that space, because it's not always about the revenue that they bring into the office, is it?
No, not at all. Like, you know, we've got a variety of people that perform at different levels, and what they bring culturally differs, if you know what I mean. So yeah, it is great to see people just enjoying doing their job. Yeah. You know, and that's what I like. And I look at every agent that works in our organisation as my client. And so I want the client to feel fulfilled.
I love that. So as your client, one of your roles, you keep mentioning onboarding and how an important part of that, like bringing not just an agent, like the entire team into OC is. Can you give us an overview of what that onboarding process looks like?
Yeah. My first job in real estate, I'll never forget my first day. It was welcome, good to have you on board. That's your desk, that's your phone, that's your computer. Just give me a call if you need anything. And the very first appraisal I ever booked, first appraisal I was supposed to go out for, my principal was not available. I'm pretty sure he was playing golf. He didn't tell me that, but I'm pretty sure he was, right? So I winged it. So I really believe in having a structured program, and there's two aspects. There's the onboarding. Onboarding's easy, right?
Yep.
Here's the toilets. There's the cafe. These are desks that you can use. These are stationery. These are the people in the organisation. Here's the various departments. The onboarding is really easy. It is. It's just the orientation, if you like, right?
Yeah.
What's missing is the boarding. We call it the boarding program.
Yeah.
And so it's what do you do over 3 to 6 months to empower that agent? So one thing that I found that was missing, and I think is a very unique thing for us, and I reckon you'll agree, is the role of two amazing ladies that I have in my team, and that is Emma and Melissa.
Couldn't agree more.
So both have sales background and both have great skill sets and both actually get tech.
Yeah.
Melissa plays an amazing role in looking after all of our suppliers from a tech point of view, and also product development, because we're working with our suppliers on product development and trying to push them, like, okay, this is where we want to go. Are you coming with us, or do I need to consider somebody else? So she's great in that space, and then she'll test the products before they get rolled out to the team. Emma, if you like, is more of the front-facing support to our agents. She actually protects my time really, really well as well. And so as part of the boarding program, Emma and Mel will spend time individually or in groups with the people as they come in the organisation. You've got people who have never used Agent Box before, so you've got to start at the basics, the login, the create the contacts, everything, right? But then we want them to be doing things in a particular way. We call it the OC way, so that they can get the best out of all the other solutions and tech and our tech stack. So, ensuring that appraisals are entered correctly and how we can understand the agent's pipeline to give them greater visibility to their business, to help them understand are they on track or off track. And so that program is, I would say, is probably more fluid and customized based on the individuals, based on their competency levels with certain programs or tech stack or anything like that. But there's a plan over 3 to 6 months of getting somebody from A to Z in terms of where we need to be to know that we've given them the absolute best to succeed.
Yeah, and I think that's the key.
And that includes also, we've got another lady who works with us, Sam Herniak, who's an amazing sales agent herself. As one of our sales managers, she supports me in that space of agent development, mentoring, coaching. And so she can go in there, do a one-on-one with an agent that will align to the work that Emma and Mel are doing. Or if we feel that the agent's ready to go to the next step, she'll check in with Mel, check in with Emma and go, right, they're ready for this now. So, yeah, I think the boarding program is probably one of our strengths. Just being able to articulate that to new recruits as they come in through is really good. And what we're working on now, and like I'm saying to my team, okay, if I've met somebody that has some commercial experience, for example, or somebody's just completely, they just decided real estate's for them, how can we put them through a 6-month program that will just set them up for success? Because I've seen so many people come into real estate that have great skills, but they just can't stick it out. It's like the moment they're about to break through is when they drop off, and it's just it's just because they're not sold the vision and given the right structure, if you like.
Well, it's the supportive element, and I think what we do poorly, general comment here, because there's some people out there that do some incredible things in this space, but as directors or business owners, we get impatient. And so we go, oh, well, you've been with us for 6 months. You should be at this level and you should be doing this, and I'll just let you go. And instead of flipping like you guys do and going, well, okay, you're 6 months in, but how else can we support you and what else do you need from us? And it's almost like restarting the onboarding at that 4, 5, 6 month mark to re-identify the gaps.
Oh, absolutely. You could bring on board somebody 15 years down the line, right? Because the way they were doing it back then is completely different now. What you need is the platform, and you need the model to know where they need to step in or step out, that stage. So that's why we call it the OC way. Like if you were to conduct an appraisal for a property, there are things that you need to do either from a legislation point of view or, you need to do your CMA research, right?
Yep.
And then whether you use a product like Realtor or RealHub or something like that, you need to build in your document, your presentation document, print it. Maybe you need to prepare a sales agency agreement. There are things you need to do that are standard, if you like, across the board. That's what we call the OC way. But what we do, which is a little bit different, I reckon, as well, is, I say that 70%, if I go out and do an appraisal and conduct an appraisal, 70% of that is the same for everybody. The 30% is the individual flair. So do they send a card after the appointment? Do they send a text message? Do they leave a box of chocolates? All these little 1%ers, and they're unique and different for every agent. We never change that. We want to know what type of agent they are. We want to know what are their unique skills? What's their point of difference? And then make the system work for that, not the other way around. Because a lot of systems, when they're implemented, it's like switch it on, there you go. And they're very rigid. So whenever we take on a system or a solution, we like it to be fluid so that we can make the system work for the agent, not the other way around.
Well, with nearly 80 sales agents, you can't have them all the same because that would almost be a disaster, wouldn't it?
It certainly keeps you entertained and keeps you busy, yeah. But do you know what? You need that variety, right? You do. You need the variety of people. You need the variety of personalities. And that's why culture is so important. And that's, credit to Nathan and credit to Alex. They nailed that in day one. Yeah. And they make significant investment year on year. We have a company that we work really closely with here in Adelaide. They're national. That just specifically works on dynamics and mechanics and in culture. And so when you go out to a Christmas party and you've got 80, 85 people that report to me. And when you've got people coming up to you saying thank you, that means a lot. That's
pretty cool.
Yeah, that means a lot because it means we're getting something right. And I think, I love building the business. I love building new products. I'm looking for the next thing, but I really do like building people and just letting people achieve what they're capable of achieving. Whenever I'm sitting down with a one-on-one and I'll say to them, look, I hate wasted talent. I hate doing one-on-ones with people that are not doing the actions and you're telling them if you just do this, it's going to come through if you stick to it. I just hate seeing talent go to waste. And I love
that line.
And that's why,
I love it.
And that's why we're putting together this program that just sets people up for greater success. Because we know as a business then that we've done everything we can to make it happen. The rest is the individual. And
I think probably the only thing that then overlays on top of that, and I know this is a big part of your role, is that accountability piece, because culture is one piece, a very important piece, the onboarding, the training, the development of people, but it's also in sales, you've got to keep people on track.
Yeah.
So for people out there, especially sales managers with big teams, what wisdom can you give in that space of how you keep sales agents accountable and when they get off track, help them get back on track?
So first of all, call it early.
Yep.
So if you can see, and that's why he had the numbers guy, if I can see that their calls are dropping or the appraisals are dropping, I can tell you in 90 days' time they're going to be off, right? So I was having this conversation. Actually, me and Alex were talking about this last night. We were saying about mindset and everything else. Agents, from a mindset point of view, when everything's on and they've got listings, they're in a great space, right? But when they've got no stock, they're off. And so not having any stock is just a byproduct of you not doing the basics. So what I tend to do is not focus on listings and the sales, but on the basics and the activity as well. And what I've learned with a lot of sales agents is whether it's 2 weeks or just 4-week bursts, just focus on what you got to do in that period, not what you got to do in the next quarter, because you can have a really poor quarter and significantly turn it the next. So that doesn't matter. What really counts is what you're doing today. Are you doing something productive today that could translate into something in 90 days? And so I tend to spend more time not on the listings and the role plays and all that kind of stuff, because I think you can teach that easily, right? And a lot of it comes down to energy. So, we've all seen it when you've got an agent that's just on fire. They could walk in and do a 2 out of 10 listing presentation, but because of their energy and enthusiasm, they walk away with it, right? What's more important is the continuity of the basics, having a communication plan. How do you keep in touch with your past clients? How do you keep in touch with your opens, etc.? And what are you doing to create new opportunities? The big piece for me and where I spend more time on is pipeline. Yeah. What are you doing to have a pipeline. Can you actually sit down with me right now and show me you have 20 to 30 clients that are going to come to market in the next 6 months? Because if you can't, you're off. And so the reason I do that is two things. One, you can't build a pipeline unless you're doing the basics, and that's connection. And two, it's how you overcome rejection. Most agents are really like despondent when the owner calls them up and says, "Oh, sorry, Lauren, I'm going to go with somebody else, cheaper fees or whatever," right? If I've got 30 clients in that list and you're one of them and you just called me and said, "Hey, I'm not going with you. Cross your name off then. See you later. Good luck." I've still got 29, right?
Yeah.
I focus on them.
Yep.
So if you have a consistent pipeline and a healthy pipeline, I think your energy will be better. You'll handle rejection, which is a big significant issue, I think, with a lot of agents as well, and you're more likely to succeed. So it's strip it down to the bare essentials, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 2, 3 or 4 week bursts in what they've got to do during that period, and then focus on the pipeline. So we say, like, if somebody wants to check in, if somebody wants a one-on-one with me for accountability, I limit the time, first of all, so I don't leave it like you can't have 2 or 3 hours with me, because my time is equally as important to their time with me. Don't get me wrong, but there's only so much you can go through, right?
Yes.
But I actually say as well, look, if you don't do what we said in the 2 weeks before, you can only catch up with me every fortnight. That's the earliest. And if you don't do what I said or we get discussed in that 2 week period, don't book yourself back in again.
I love that. I think that's just awesome. That's accountability in itself.
Yeah, I've sent people out of the room. I've sat down and said, we're going to do this, and this. And have you done them? No. See you later. I'm not spending any more time with you. So like you go and do that and then you come back. I know it sounds a bit brutal, but sometimes you need that reality check. And that's why I say call it early.
Yeah.
If you find that people are off track or they're likely to get off track, you've got to call it early. And I guess one of the things, like with me, in my personality, is I'll call it early. I might say it in a cheeky way, but you know that when I say it, it's got a meaning, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So I remember having a mentor when I first started real estate, and he said, "Oh, you're English. Excuse my French. You're a cheeky little shit. But you need to use that. He said, you need to use that commercially. You need to use that in the lounge room." And I do. Like I do it in negotiations, right?
Yeah.
So I do even with my options when I call in options. It's an icebreaker. So I feel like the team know how to handle me and they know that if I say something that may appear direct, it's coming from a position of love.
Yeah, because I trust you.
Yeah, I want you to succeed. Yeah. So, I could be walking through the office and there's a talented individual there that I haven't seen pick up the phone once and it's 2:00 in the afternoon. I got no problem walking up to him and, saying, "What are you doing?" I've got no problem with that. Get on the phone, So call it early. If you see it, I'd worry about it more if I just let it fester and I've got to deal with it later. I'd rather deal with something and nip it in the butt right now and do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Great advice. Great advice. I want to just change topic from sales to BDs for a minute because 12 months ago, maybe not even 12 months ago, you took...
10.
9-10 months ago, you took on the BD team, which is not really normal, if I'm allowed to say that, for a sales director to go, "Yep, give me the BDM team. I want to work with them." Mm-hmm. But you've grown the team in that really short space of time, but you've really taken a sales approach into that BDM world. Tell me why and how that's had a really big impact on results.
Yeah, so historically, 5 BDs. So 5 BDs, 1 admin, 3 leasing partners. And so 2 admin and 3 leasing partners. We are, I guess, I've never seen any difference from the outside. When I was working in sales, I've never seen any difference between a BDM and a salesperson. They've got to prospect, they've got to build rapport, they've got to present, they've got to close the deal and list it. So a management agreement to me is the same as a sales agency agreement. Yep. The principles and the basics are all the same. For me, BD gets lost in PM. And so in our organisation, we took the approach of, we had great conversations around the space and I was like, it's more sales. Let me loose if I can be let loose on it at some point. If the opportunity comes, let me loose. And he did. The opportunity came and they said, "Look, can you help out?" I said, "Yeah, no problem at all. Help out." And so the team transitioned across. It was a team of 3, 2 BDs and 1 admin person at the time. And pretty much in the space of 4 weeks, we'd recruited another BD. We'd offered a role to another BD and we ripped up the structure and redid it all because it was restricted. It couldn't grow. It was limited. They used to work together, collaborate. It wasn't empowering the individuals. And so I look at BD as very similar to sales, whereby you can have a business development area, a BDA or a territory that you're responsible for, because if you've got a new business specialist that just focuses on a corridor or a territory, they're going to convert more business. Like people are going to pick up that you know the local market and you're able to readily translate that to our investors, which is great. And that works really well for certain markets like the South Coast, where we've got an amazing BD. You know, it's completely different to the city.
Yeah.
So we've got BDs that are aligned to BDA areas. And then what we're able to do then is we're also, when we commence bringing in leasing partners, is start to develop a career pathway. BDs don't hang on trees. So how do we develop talent? So that's always something I'm looking at. Is how do we develop talent? We've got in the sales space. And I see BDs as the commencement of that. It's coming as a leasing partner. Coming on as a leasing partner, work specifically with the new business team. We introduce some KPIs just to keep a bit of accountability. It's not about rushing the process, but it's about like, this is where we want to be. This is what we want to achieve. High pace, high energy. Let's get some energy in this space. I think average days on market were over 30 when I took over. They're around 11 or 12 now. And we're not rushing the tenant selection. We're still qualifying them. Yeah. But we've just got greater frequency of inspections and we're just hustling to make sure we get the best people through ASAP. And we're even doing things off market now in new business. I mean, I don't know of many organisations that do that, but we have done a number of lettings recently where it's been off market. So we've now got the pathway for leasing partners into new business execs. And then we've also got the concept of developing EBUs. So the effective business units, which are really common in sales, we now actually have that in new business. So our new business can get aligned to a leasing partner. So they're working really, really closely. They can then step up potentially in the future to be a co-agent, if you like, in that effective business unit. So they're listing as well as the lead agent, and then you bring in another for the leasing partner. So we've really synergized the structure with what you can expect in a sales company or sales division. And we're seeing some great success. Like, you know, we're working, as you and I and the team are working really, really closely. And we switched the mentality now from volume and numbers into revenue. I'd much rather list fewer properties, but with better fees. Because, you know, some people, where they want those lower fees, will probably not buy for each other, you know? So
it's taken a bit of time for the team to get on board with that concept, though, because they're so used to being driven by numbers.
Yep.
And so when you strip back and say, well, we don't actually want you to bring in 30 a month.
When you bring in 40 grand.
But we want you to bring in the equivalent, and we don't care if that's 10 a month, but as long as it reaches this number. It has been a bit of a struggle for the team, hasn't it?
It's been a big mental shift. I think we're there. Like I think we are too. I had a message from somebody this morning telling me how much they've done in terms of annualized revenue. That's how we record it, right? So it's the annualized revenue target per property and then your cumulative. Every new business exec has a budget. They have monthly targets in terms of what they've got to deliver. And that could be the number of signed management agreements, because you need to list more than you're going to lease, right? Correct. And there's always a lag period or whatever. So there's targets in terms of how many we list. And then in terms of, you know, internally we refer to them as gains. This is like when it's leased and it's in the machine and it's an asset, right? It's from our point of view, it's an asset in the business. That's based on annualized revenue. It's not based on number. So a new business exec may have an monthly annualized target of 47K, 48K. Now, how they get to that is up to them. If they go out and list everything at 10% or 11%, then they're going to have to list fewer properties. And you know what? I'm cool with that. But if they're going out there at 7% or whatever it may be, they know they need to do more volume as well. And there is a kind of cut-off point where we're like, it's a bit low. We're not doing that. Yeah.
But it's definitely seen a drive in that fee being higher.
Yeah.
Because of that revenue driver.
Definitely. I think so every new business exec, so we've developed internal dashboards to track the performance of every exec, and they can see how they did last month, this month, and what the targets are for next month. And we've got that charted out as well for them on their dashboard for their financial year performance. Pretty safe to say that every MBE is going up progressively. You know, it might go up 0.1, but that's improvement, right? And so it's all about build it slowly. Rome wasn't built in a day. So it's been a really interesting journey. If I'm honest with you, I'm really enjoying it. And there's a lot more, you know this, there's a lot more I want to do, but it's about pace. If you go too quickly at times, it can destroy it.
Yes.
So it's just one block at a time. You know, we moved everybody into Agent Box, so we've got the same accountability, performance reporting. They've got their own dashboard. We've got them using fewer systems. We have them using the same system to build their proposals that the sales team use as well. We have them incorporating prospecting time as well as reactive time. So we have a lot of this phone calls that come in on the front desk. It blew me away when I first got access to the leads. I was like, really? Like, it's amazing how many come in just with brand awareness and brand recognition, right? And then you got the sales team that deliver leads as well. And so the new business execs, they're just getting leads handed to them. And I'm like, well, okay, this is great, but it's still never enough for me. Like, what do we do next? So now we're at the space where we are monitoring every inquiry that comes in on properties and proactively connecting to investors. We have people in our CRM that are flagged as investors on customer journeys and receiving communication from us on that basis. And then I want the new business execs working their pipeline and looking for new people to put in the pipeline.
Yeah.
So
that same pipeline that the sales have?
Very similar, to more condensed. Yeah, so it works on the same principle, but the pipeline, so typically in sales, you got like 0 to 3 month listers, 3 to 6 months, whatever it may be. You got buyers, sellers. I need to buy, then I sell. So, but in the space of BDs, it's sometimes condensed. Sometimes it's like people are making decisions in the next 14 days versus the next 28. So I find the pipeline in the space of new business is a bit more condensed. But then you have got people that we may connect with today that have just started their research into buying their first investment. I just want to make sure that even if they don't buy the property through OFC, I just want to make sure we're on the shopping list and give them an opportunity. That's all. And if our BDs have gone in there and they've given it their best shot and they've done their best presentation and they've still walked away without the business, at least we know we've done everything we can to try and get it.
Correct.
But I would back our BDs to walk away. Our conversion rate's really high. Yeah. And so when you add in that layer of relationship building and nurturing as well, it's pretty exciting. It's pretty exciting because rent rolls are not easy to buy and they're expensive and they're getting more expensive. But to build one organically, the cost of sale is actually lower.
Yeah.
So I kind of look at it and go, what else can I do to build that? So I've got we'll be working on the new financial year targets very, very shortly. And I know in my head what I want to do. You know that already.
It's exciting.
It's exciting. Like, it's exciting. And there's just so more that we can do. And then so anything we're doing in the sales space, me and my team, my sales management team, we're already looking at, and by the way, Hugh, who's our new business manager, sits in the sales leadership team meeting, right? So he knows what's happening in sales space as well as his own department. And we're constantly looking at, if I'm working in something in sales here to the betterment of those 80 agents or whoever it may be, or 40, 50 agents, can I easily translate that into the space of new business? So that's our decision-making framework at the moment, is can we actually utilise this across all departments that are touched by sales as well? So they're doing an amazing job. You're doing an amazing job working with them, by the way.
Thanks, Luke.
Give you a little bit of a pump there. But I actually think that's a really important piece, is having that external consultant and mentor as well as an internal. So it's easy for me to call things and I can look at it and go, yeah, we're on or we're off. But having that external expertise has been critical to where we are right now. So I'm pretty excited. So yeah, it's a little bit different. That's been 12 months and I reckon there'll be more doing it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. But we'll be at the next level.
Well, yeah. Follow the lead dog, right?
I love it. Luke, I've got one more question for you, because I'm very conscious of your time. If you could go back to day one, what do you wish you had have known based on your experience to date?
I mean, this boarding principle would be the big thing for me. It was 2007, 2008. It was different. The marketplace was different and everything else. I went out and I was active in trying to find mentors or coaching, So, I was connecting to various people and listening to podcasts and listening. Well, it wasn't podcasts, then it was CDs, right? So, yeah, CDs always on in my car.
Yeah.
And, I'd be listening to John McGrath, not knowing that 2 years later, I'd be sitting down in a room actually having a conversation with him, It was just surreal. And I remember doing a role play with John at that time. It was great. And John actually paid me one of the biggest compliments in my career. And he said, you've got some of the best natural talent I've ever seen. And I was so tempted to say to him, it's a good job he said that, because half the things I've said was actually, I've listened to you on the CD. So if I was wrong, it's your fault. But it actually gave me the confidence that I kind of knew what I was doing. So if I could rewind the clock and have anything I've got now, it would be that boarding support. It would be having somebody that I can just go to freely that could give me the best platform to succeed in that first 6 months especially. Yeah. And having a clear plan and going to an organisation that can demonstrate that. I think that would be number one. And the second thing would be, it's never too early to invest in personal development. So if you're starting in real estate and it's day one, and if you can afford it, connect in with people like yourself, connect in with other trainers, because you'll accelerate your career. You know, I look at some people that are 2 or 3 years in their career, and I'm thinking, if you would just do what you're hearing consistently, you'd be light years ahead right now. You know, you'd be miles ahead. Everybody will go at their own pace, but never too early, to invest in personal development. Keep yourself accountable, go for it.
Yep.
And align yourself with an organisation that's got a proven onboarding program and a proven success rate for success as well. So like what I mean by that is, can they actually demonstrate to you agents that have come into the organisation and succeeded as well? So yeah, those are probably the things that I would focus on.
Awesome. Luke, thank you. There's so much to take away from that, and I really appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you for the invitation.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Impact and Influence. Click follow to get notified about future episodes. Leaving a review helps others find the podcast. And to learn more about our courses, our study tours, conferences, keynote topics and our services, or how simply we might be able to help support you in taking you to places you never thought possible, please visit regrowthkyliewalsh.com.